All right. Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I am Dale with Realvolve, and really excited to share the webinar that we have for you today. It's about listings transaction to close. Just so you know, we've got a question section or a chat section there in GoToWebinar. We love when people are vocal there and ask a lot of questions. So put in any questions that come up during the broadcast, and we'd love to talk with you and answer your questions. Let's see. I think, so I've got John on the webinar with us today from Realvolve. He's going to be helping me out. And John, I think I need to be the presenter. It looks like I'm not the presenter. Let's see. Let me see if I can change that. I can. Now I'm the presenter. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now then.
Yep.
Are you seeing that? Okay. So with me on the webinar today, I have Jackie Egan and Cathy Purcell from Minnesota, from the Buy and Sell a Home team. Is that right?
Yep, with Keller Williams. Very good.
With Keller Williams. There we go. There you are.
There we are.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, so we've been over at Keller Williams now, been selling real estate for about 26 years. I joke and tell everybody I started when I was 9. So not to date myself, but I just love real estate. I wake up every day and just hit the floor running. I can't wait to get going. It's just in my bones. I was born to do this. So just getting to experience things at a different level, I realize that I have a big old passion for the agents as well as for the clients and customers now. So we started a new business called RESCU, which is Real Estate Service Center Unlimited. And those the services inside of this business are all dedicated to helping the agents. So we're focusing not on the client any longer, but on figuring out what we can do to leverage the time and talents of the agents and make our lives much more simplified, giving us more time to do whatever it is that we want more time to do. So for some people, it's getting more time on, doing their own personal things, more hobbies, more time with family, more time with church, more time at work. Maybe they do want to go do more listings, work with more buyers, more time growing and building their team, whatever it is. But that's kind of what led into what we're going to talk about today. So Cathy and I met a number of years ago at a different company, and when the time was right, our worlds reconnected, and I'll let her take over from there. It was destiny.
Is that what it was?
It was. Oh, hey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cathy Purcell. I have been assisting realtors for 13 years now, just about 13 years. And I would say my true passion is really the processes behind why agents do what they do and how to simplify what they do on a daily basis. So that's where our worlds collided and where we kind of meshed in that sense. And we've been building and implementing ever since and finding a lot of success with Realvolve. And that's why we're here.
I have all these really good ideas, and they stay up here, and I sort of throw them all out on paper, and I look at it, and I'm like, geez, what do you do with this? And I'm like, Cathy. And then I give them to her, and she does all this stuff, and she's like, makes sense out of all the chaos. So she's like a wizard.
Chaos.
She's the one behind the curtain.
Awesome. So we have a lot of stuff. Jackie and Cathy have worked really hard on the topic today. We have a lot of stuff to cover. We're probably not going to get to everything that we have prepared, but we'll do our best. In the meantime, I would love to hear from everybody on the webinar. By the way, we had hundreds of people register. We still have people coming in. So we will see where we end up, but there's a lot of people here today. So I expect a lot of engagement. So I want to know from everybody what you're hoping to get out of the webinar. And if we don't get to it today, we always keep that in mind for the next webinar. So please be vocal and let us know why you registered for this webinar and which information you're trying to gather. Now, I know we have probably about an equal mix of 50% of you are already using Realvolve and 50% of you are not using Realvolve yet. So we have to keep that in mind. Hopefully we'll have enough information for both audiences, those that have been using Realvolve for a while, those that are new to Realvolve, but then even the other audience of people that are not using Realvolve at all. So hello from Spain, Thomas, or should I say Tomas?
Tomas.
Okay, how to set up and use Realvolve. So Ron, I'm assuming that you just started with Realvolve recently, looking for more ways to automate as many tasks as I can. Again, Renee, I'm assuming that you already have Realvolve. Good ideas for getting started with Realvolve. 5 days ago, I signed up 5 days ago. Welcome, welcome. Learn to set up and automate workflows. So does that mean that you already have it? Okay, make me smarter. I don't know if we can do that. Do our best. So first couple of things I want to talk about. We don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but we do, for those of you that are not familiar with Realvolve, we're going to breeze through kind of some basic advantages of Realvolve. So I know that when we were talking last time, Cathy, you talked about that each transaction has a lot of moving pieces, moving parts to it. Can you talk to that point a little bit? Why is it so, like, why, what moving parts are you talking about, and how do Realvolve workflows help you with that?
Well, every transaction is different, as you know. Some properties are condos or have associations. Some properties on a transaction point might need an inspection, some may not. So having the ability to kind of group those specific tasks together for those different nuances that happen within a file, and being able to implement what we need per property has been really, really it's been a great time saver, really. So, as we're setting up properties in the system, we can select right then and there what we're going to need and what pieces need to be included for that transaction. So it takes tasks away that I don't need, and it implements tasks that I will need. So really at the very beginning of a transaction is always, that's really the most important, because that's when it seems like most of the moving parts are happening. And your inspections, your earnest money, your HOA docs being ordered, all those different things, checking in on the appraisal, all those different tasks are so important at the very beginning. And we just, we used to have a spreadsheet basically where I tracked dates for each of our properties, and it was fine, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't, I would forget.
Better than nothing though, right?
It was better than nothing. It was exactly it.
Right.
And it was hard because it was like you couldn't have just one checklist for all the different things you had to do, because, well, what about if, what happens then when you run into a problem with the appraisal and you had work orders that had to be done, or you appraised too low? Well, then what did you do? And so it's like, then you had to branch off into something else, and that wasn't part of a checklist. So then you had to kind of make this little, you made sticky notes and you stapled something on and you did all this weird stuff, and it just was never easy. And then you had to let the other people on the team know where you were at with stuff, and it was just constantly reworking things. And we've been up for the last 2 years that we've been building this stuff. We just had the joke, not even a joke, but it started out as a joke, and we'd ask each other, well, have we done this before? Well, yeah. Okay, well, are we going to do it again? Well, yeah. Well, then just Realvolve it. I mean, so let's put it in our work.
Create a process.
Yeah, if we're going to do it more than once, I mean, it's something that's repeatable in our business, then just Realvolve it. Let's not mess around, because we've been looking and looking and looking at checklists for years, and it's just, we're over it. So we're just going to build it ourselves. And that's what that's what your system allowed us to do. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, so I looked at, and it looks like there's several people have asked for ideas on kind of how to get started. So it looks like we have a few new people that are vocal here on the webinar, which is great. And let's see. Renee said that she, one of her favorite things about RealVolve is task categories, as we mentioned.
I agree.
So, and these are the notes that I took from, I guess these are some, based on some of the notes that you sent over. So I'm getting an echo.
We're not hearing it, if that matters.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
It's the voices.
So these are some of the things that I wrote down based on either the notes you sent me or stuff that we talked about in the past.
Yeah, you know, quite honestly, it's having the ability to template all the things that you do on a regular basis with a file. So creating email templates that correspond with certain points within a transaction and having that all built into an activity that all you have to do is open it, add any additional notes, delete something out that maybe doesn't apply, and you hit send. You don't have to retype all of your notes. Your files are organized. Now having the Google integration has been very, very nice. Having the .loop integration for our office has been very nice. So it's less time for me. I can handle more files. So transaction coordinating is not my only job within the team. And so having something that will simplify my day where I can spend, you know, an hour or two just working in RealVolve on all of our properties and then being able to do other activities that I need to do throughout the day, it's really freed up a lot of my time.
And it's nice too, because I don't like to give her vacation, but when she does get it, which is not very often, I can go in a file and I can look and see exactly where she's at with something, and I don't have to wonder or worry. Every step is identified. Every file has the same steps, and I know exactly what's been done. I don't have to wonder what I have to do next because it shows up every day. I go to the dashboard, it's going to tell me exactly what I have to do. So I don't have to be so paranoid every day that I'm going to do something and she's going to kill me when I get back because I didn't do it, because I just have to show up and look on my dashboard and it's going to tell me. And I don't have to go, God, I wonder what she says in these emails. The emails are already built and they're already templated so that it auto-populates the people's names. It auto-populates the inspector or the photographer's names. It puts in the dates. It does all this stuff. You basically hit send. So, I mean, imagine it does this for every single client. Once you populate it with who your primary players are in this business, if you use your same title people, if you use kind of the same lenders, it just puts it in there, and you just hit send. You don't have to think about it. It literally is that set it and go kind of business, and anybody can step into your place and do this. So, I mean, you're saving so much money on staffing for one thing. So the expenses you're going to have are going to get to come down on some of this. Your time, oh my gosh, just the time, because now I can make other projects more priority that we work on, because this doesn't take so long. Yeah, we work on building and doing other things now.
I love it. So let's see. So talk to me about your transaction to close accepted offer on a listing activities and the workflow that you have. So I know there's 49 activities that you've put together for the accepted offer on a listing.
Yep. So it's built around, again, having those different groups. So you may not have to use all 49 activities.
Can you see the screen? Can you see my screen here where I have the workflow up?
We can. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. So really, it's from start to finish. It's all the tasks needed. There you can see all the different groups. So, you know, if a home warranty is part of a purchase agreement, well, then you have activities that need to happen. So you might have to order one. have stuff sent to the title company for them to get it paid through the seller's net proceeds. You know, if there's a loan, it could be a cash offer. You may not have any additional tasks, appraisals, things like that you have to worry about. So being able to kind of deselect or select some of these groups is going to save you a lot of time. Not everything is going to apply to every property. But, you know, have you had a referral from another agent and you want to keep that referred agent in the loop on what's going on? You have tasks and you have templates to update them. And, you know, we so appreciate the business that you gave to us, and we're taking care of your client. If the sale falls through, there's tasks for that as well. You know, there's templated emails that can go out for that as well. Just, hey, you know what, unfortunately this didn't work, but we're diligently working to find them another property. So just, you know, keeping that in the loop too is huge. It's things that you don't think about throughout a transaction. So, but really for me, the beginning stages of a transaction is the hardest. It's when you have the most things going on. You have to check for file compliance. Are you missing any forms? Are there additional amendments that need to be signed? You've got your inspections. So everything is tasked out in the activities. Who to send amendments to. I mean, really, it's down to every little task. So you had a caller that asked in about, you know, where do I start? Well, look at your paper checklist. That's where you start. And then as you start to implement those little bits and pieces of a workflow, you're going to find more pieces to the puzzle, more things that come up on a regular basis that you can add in and trickle in as you need it. But even just starting with the basics of a workflow is kind of where you would begin. And that's where we began.
We've broken them down to just the tiniest of detail. It's funny because I don't like details. I don't do details unless I'm building. So like this kind of thing, just because I've lived and breathed this for so long that you know all these little steps. So you know when you get a signed contract for a buyer or listing or whatever it is, that you know that you got to get copies of all this stuff, and you know you got to turn around and get a copy of everything sent to the client. You know you got to upload all these things and get it up. You know, for Keller Williams, we got to get it up into the loop, and you know all these other little details and things you've got to do and how you've got to specifically do it. And so it's all in our checklist down to every last little staple you need to do. And so you can't miss anything. And we've been running with ours for about a year now. And so if we missed when we were building these, if we missed something, we'd go back and add it in, you know. So you gotta, if you're building your own, you just start.
Yep.
Just start. And then you just keep adding and editing and changing and tweaking, and you can't like mess it up. You know, you've got to begin at the beginning and just keep moving with it. And it's a work in progress. I mean, we've built a lot of these, and we've been working on them for 2+ years now.
Yeah, and so there's just for everybody listening. I mean, not everybody loves building workflows. A lot of you listening are not going to ever want to build your own, but that's why we do webinars like this, and that's why we have a big library of workflows to choose from. Because in my opinion, it's much easier to take workflows that somebody else has built and edit them and make them your own. So the editing is easier, in my opinion, than starting from scratch. But for those that want to start from scratch, I'm curious, Cathy, you mentioned, sorry, I think it's can you guys turn down your speaker a tiny bit?
Us?
Yeah.
Oh, how do we do that?
Where's your speaker?
Have I mentioned I don't do technology?
Yeah, click on that.
This one?
That's muted. Shoot, sorry.
Are we giving you the
Okay.
feedback?
Yeah.
Webcam, click on that right there. Click the drop down. Edit. Oh, sorry, I don't know.
So
Computer audio.
that's okay. Okay.
Can we hear? Sorry, I'm trying to figure that out. I don't think it's that.
If your audio is just going through your computer, you just have to turn the computer down.
It's through the webcam, I think. try the computer, because that might be it.
Just got to turn the computer volume down a little bit.
You gotta move that over.
Can you drive?
It's right. Sorry, everybody. There we go. Okay, how's that?
That's better. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's better. Okay, so now I just got more feedback again still.
Sorry.
It's okay. Let me try to change my headset. Maybe it's my headset. I don't know. But if you can't hear it and everybody else can, I have the suspicion that it's your speaker being too loud.
This is the speaker's the webcam.
Let me try to switch headsets real quick.
No, don't do that.
I need to move this second over.
So just minimize. No, the one over. That one. So now go into the volume. The volume.
Testing.
And then turn it up.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Might have been my headset.
Okay.
So, what I was going to ask is, what do you do, Cathy, when you're looking to set up workflows? How do you organize it? You mentioned the paper checklists and starting there. How would you, if you were teaching somebody else how to build a workflow, where would you start?
Well, quite honestly, we start with paper. We start with, I jot down everything that goes into what we need to do. I've created certain procedures. You might already have procedures written for what you're doing and who handles what throughout a transaction. If that's the case, then that's where I start. So
the initial ones with the listings and that, we had a whiteboard and an easel thing, and we just did a brain dump. We just started talking about, like, when I go out and do a listing, we're just
steps?
like, what do we
need? What goes in what? You know, if you're creating a listing presentation, you know, what do we put in ours? We do certain things to market to certain clients. So for listings, we send out pre-list boxes. So what items go into that? So it's checklists within workflows, within templates, within activities. So we try to just branch it out and make it as detailed as possible, and then trying to figure out every scenario possible. And then what times we need these things to happen on. So we have to, you know, we have dates within our purchase agreements. Those are dates that we need to build off of. So that's really kind of where we start, and we just kind of dump out, this is what we need it to look like. This is what we need as a minimum in our workflows, and then we can branch off and build from there. We can create more workflows to start up within a workflow. So again, you kind of showed that that branching checklist. That's a lot of what our workflows are. So if an appraisal comes back and buyer and seller can't come to terms, well, then more than likely we have to cancel the purchase agreement. So then we can start a whole new workflow with the steps on what to do. So let's send out the cancellation to the seller, send it off to the buyer's agent, make sure everybody has a copy of it, send it to title, send it to the lender, send it to everybody who needs it. And then we now have to remarket the listing. So then it's the steps involved in getting it back on the MLS, making sure that nothing's missed. So
I just kind of want to say too, so everything Cathy's saying, so here's me, okay? So I'm a team leader, I'm a broker, I speak nationally, coach, I'm a real estate coach around the country. And when Cathy's talking, here's me. And I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, because Cathy knows me, but here's me. Like, that's so much detail. My brain doesn't work this way, okay? So this is really good, because I want you to understand that this is why Cathy's so amazing, because she can do this. And like everybody out there that is like me going, this is nuts. Like, I'm just about ready to hang up, because this is too complicated. This is too hard. I am never in a million years going to do this. Because you're right. You're not wrong. You're not on the wrong webinar. You are exactly where you need to be. But here's the thing. You don't have to do this. This is stuff you don't have to do, because exactly as Dale was saying, this stuff is built and done and ready in here for you. If you are an independent agent and like you're struggling on how to stay organized and keep track of all that stuff, it's because we as independent agents in our role as being, we're entrepreneurs by nature. That's what we are. And by nature, our disc profile, our makeup of who we are not necessarily those organized, structured people that take the time to do these things. Like, it's not in our makeup, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not us. But that's why these kinds of systems are out there. They're out there to save us from being crippled. They just are. And so what you need is to find a system like this and or hire a staff person to take this on. And this system, it just runs itself. I mean, I spell IT and I'm done with technology. I don't get it. Like, Dale's like, well, just turn down your volume. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're from Mars, man. I don't get it. Are you crazy? So Cathy's just like, let me drive, Jackie. And I'm like, you know, I got the mouse in my hand. I don't know where to go turn the volume down. You're crazy. But I can do Realvolve. Like, I can get it. It's just a bunch of clicking and completing tasks. It's like when you start a project and you're doing the startup wizard on something. It's just telling you what you need to do. So you don't have to get lost in all this talk. I'm just saying, the building of this, because the stuff is out there for you. So if you're hearing some of that and you're a little bit like worked up about that, just please don't get worked up about it, because that stuff's amazing. And all of you that are transaction quarters are going, this is the best. I love this. I can do this. And you're like, you're right on. And you all should go out for coffee and tea and scrumpets and talk about it. And I'll go with all you other people and we'll just go, those guys are nuts.
Yeah,
So
and the other thing is we have a team of 4 in-house virtual assistants and onboarding reps, and we're adding another one in a week or two. So we're going to have 5. We have availability to help. So
and they're amazing.
If you reach out to Realvolve. We have options. So of course, there's the do-it-yourself 100% option. There is lots of training available to walk through step-by-step how to do everything in Realvolve. Then we also have, we can hold your hand and help you learn exactly what you're curious about now. We have the support team, of course, if you just have one-off questions here and there. And then, of course, we have the workflows that are pre-built, like what Cathy has spent so much time building. And we'll talk more about that.
We have a ton of webinars on videos and webinars and YouTube and that other site that I forget the name of all the time, because I go to that and watch.
Yeah. Well, that's how we started. Yeah. I mean, honestly, look at this amazing software and this is what it does. Okay, so now let's start watching videos on how people are creating their own workflows, and that's where we started. And it's not a quick fix. It's not a simple thing unless you're buying a package that you can just go in and edit. It does take a little bit of time to get your tasks in there, get your templates built, but man, when you have it, it's like, where has this been all these years? Wow, this is saving me so much time, because it's all done. It's all there for you.
So a couple of questions I wanted to address. Well, first of all, Jim says, Jackie, who buys the coffee, me or you?
I'll buy where you at. You might have to buy the ticket.
I'm just curious. I want all the TCs and admins to raise their hands now and say, does this all sound really familiar to all of you? That I don't like the details. This is why I hired you to handle it. And yeah.
I'm a mess, Jim. You're a mess. So I'll just be honest.
So I wanted to show everybody really quickly where the workflows are. If you click on workflows here in the top menu, and then you click on the plus, you can create a new workflow or you can add workflows from the library. And now here's the library of workflows in alphabetical order. Some of them say public, which means they're free, and some of them say premium, and they range in price from $99 up to $800, and for packages of workflows. If you have any questions, just shoot us an email at sales@realvolve.com, and we can answer your questions about any of these. Any of the premium ones, you can click on, and it shows you who you need to contact for more information who designed them, who to ask questions about, etc. So, and how much they cost. And then I wanted to show also really quickly, because Jackie, you mentioned earlier your dashboard, how you just kind of go into the dashboard and can see what you need to do for the day. I have a sample because Jackie's has all of her client information in there. If you were logged into this is just a sample database. This is not a real active agent that you're looking at here, but you can see that there's correspondence here underneath all the widgets. There's just this list of notes and correspondence, and it shows emails that you've sent out and that you've gotten back from clients. So it's nice because you can kind of quickly log in here and just see a summary of communications that have gone on back and forth recently between you and your clients, even if a lot of times, even if it was a transaction coordinator that had sent something out. And then you've got your past due tasks here, your activities or past due tasks in red. And if you wanted to see a full list of your activities, you can click on the checkbox there and see your full list of activities here in that dashboard view. And again, it starts with, you can choose how these are prioritized, but it starts with past due or due today activities. And this is just, like I said, a sample database, so it's not.
I think those that aren't familiar with Realvolve too, it's funny, but it's a secondary thought, and I mentioned this in some of my marketing and pieces to advertise and let people know about today's webinar. But we started out with Realvolve because of the workflow stuff, but it's an amazing CRM. It's an amazing tracker of your financial stuff, and so we have a different CRM, and now that we've got an amazing workflow library of some of what Dale and the crew have had, and just the stuff we've been building for a couple years now, we're starting to merge and leave our other CRM and moving everything into Realvolve because it is awesome. I mean, it's been such a secondary thought to us that we've been just dumbfounded on why we haven't looked at, well, we've been busy, so that's what it is. But now that we're able to step back and look at this, it just makes more sense to put everything in here. So even though today's focus is on the workflow stuff, just wanted you guys to know that those that are not familiar with this, that it's a one-stop shop, and what you get, how much the system costs is just ridiculously inexpensive. Sorry, Dale, don't charge more.
No plans to. So tell us about these groups again, Cathy. Why do you put in these groups, and how does that work? Because we're getting some questions about groups here.
Okay, so again, you can categorize parts of a transaction or something that maybe you want to create multiple activities around, so that it may not apply to every transaction or listing, or it just may not apply to some type of a workflow that you're building. So I try to group all of my specific categories as one group. So as I'm making activities and building a workflow, then I can actually assign it to that group. And then when I deselect one of those groups, those tasks may not show up in my workflow. If I need them as part of a workflow, then they stay. So it's really based around certain things that maybe you have multiple activities that work with that one category. So, just as an example, FHA loans. Well, we have in our state, I don't know if it's a national thing or not, but a thing called an amendatory clause that has to be filled out by all parties for an FHA loan. It's a mandatory required form that everybody needs to sign, and it's all based around the appraisal. So, but that wouldn't apply to a conventional loan. So I have tasks around that because I've had lenders who forget to send me the amendatory clause, and I know that it's a mandatory clause. So I will actually reach out to them and say, hey, are you going to be sending this over soon? I'd love to get a jump start on that process. So just certain things like that. We have what's called a truth in housing in certain cities in our market. And there would be certain activities that would apply to that. So having that as a category or a group, it can eliminate tasks or add those tasks on as I need them. But really, again, at the beginning of that transaction is the most critical for me, at least, because that seems to be when everything is happening. So your inspection, you may not have an inspection on a property, so you may not need those activities. So that's why I've kind of grouped them to make it easier and not give you tasks and activities and templates that you don't need or that don't apply to a property. So that's my idea around it.
Great. And then you also mentioned on that same note about the most useful things are typically right when you're launching that workflow, right? Because there could be a whole list of things that need to happen pretty quickly once you've accepted that offer. One of the things that you mentioned was letting the buyer's agent know when the earnest money was received.
Yes.
So I've got that here up on the screen, this step. And just for those watching, this is basically the totality of any automation is configured right here on this little section here within this little white box that you're looking at. So you would simply just need to go through each one of these sections and configure how you want this automation to work. And so in this case, it is a to-do, and it says, let the buyer's agent know when the earnest money is received. And it's assigned to the transaction coordinator, which in this case is Cathy. Pick the party members that should be included. And you've said buyer's agent and then the buyer transaction coordinator. And then when does this happen? 0 days after acceptance date. And so I'll show you that in a minute here. And then you've got a note, and then you have an action. So the action is where an email would be sent out. And this is a send manually with preview.
Yes.
So there's several different options for sending email messages. I'll quickly go through them. And if you have any questions, we have more trainings on specifically on how emails work. But the options here are don't send a message, send manually with preview, send without a preview, send automatically, or send immediately. So send automatically would be if you want to send the email out when the date and time comes without having to log into Realvolve. Send manually, both of these send manually options, you have to log in and check a box that you want the email to go out on this specific activity. So in other words, you would log in, you would see an activity on your dashboard, you would check the activity off, and either it sends the email without you looking at the email, or with preview means it loads the email on your screen, already all pre-written, all the template's already done, and you would simply read it, double check that you really wanted to send that message. You might be able to, you could edit it if you wanted to in that screen, and then you hit send and away it goes. So in this case, it is a with preview send, and then I can even look at the email now just to show you. This is the email. So the subject is the property address on the transaction, and it just says hi, and then it inserts the greeting to the recipient. I wanted to let you know that we received the earnest money check. Thank you. And then whoever sent the email. So again, in this case, it's the transaction coordinator, which would likely be Cathy, and it's going to put her signature in there, and it's going to the buyer's agent. And so it's going to say, hi, Mrs. Buyer's agent. Want to let you know that earnest money. Thank you, Cathy. If anybody has questions about that, let me know. And we have tons of questions coming in right now.
So, I mean, it doesn't have to be rocket science and like tons of detail. It's just, and now it's a click of a button. You don't have to waste your time on every file to let people know that. And a lot of files, like, you know, this isn't even that common of a place anymore because we do trust funds, right, which I don't know how many people do, but most of our earnest money now is electronic. But we do still occasionally get the elderly folks that, you know, the government will steal your money while you're wiring it. So they want a hard check, you know, so they come, you know, it's not often, but now it's there. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to send it, you know, so it's good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to some of these questions real quick.
Yeah.
Carol says, how long are transaction records kept in your system after closing? Carol, that's up to you. We keep them indefinitely, so you can archive closed transactions so that you can reference them later. We don't erase them after they're closed. Let's see. Are those activities triggered by a workflow or from simply entering a property into the system? Great question, Stephen. Those are triggered off of a workflow. So you would, that's kind of part of entering the transaction would be to start the workflow. That would be one of the steps. So all Realvolve needs technically is kind of a address for a transaction or a name of a transaction. And then you would go start a workflow and pick that workflow from a dropdown. And actually, I can show you that here. If I went to a transaction, I'll just do this for fun real quick because it's a really good question. I'm going to go to this street address. So, I mean, this could just be like, you know, 123 Main Street South. And now all I have to do is start a workflow, and then I pick the workflow from my transaction workflows here. And they're in alphabetical order. So I can say, here's this buyer workflow, start it. And then it will walk you through, there's a little wizard that just asks you a couple of questions. So that's it. I'm going to cancel this. Let's see. What do the partial stars on the tasks mean? Does it auto color coordinate tasks or do you manually set those up? Yeah, so that is all based on how you categorize these when you're building out these activities in the first place. So I just want to be clear about something. This workflow builder step is only when you're building the actual workflows. Once you launch a workflow, I mean, you can launch that workflow on 10 different transactions, 10 different months, and you're never going to have to look at this screen ever again after it's configured how you want it. So I'm manually choosing how to color code these and the priority, but I don't have to do that every time. Now, when I launch the workflow, this specific activity that we're looking at, which lets the buyer's agent know when the earnest money was received, is already color coded. And now I just use it over and over again, and the color code stays the same for each one. Are activities triggered by contact information like birthdays? Yes, you can trigger activities off of specific dates of any kind. So outside of a transaction or outside of a listing, you can have anniversary dates, home purchase anniversary dates, wedding anniversary dates, birth dates, things like that, that will trigger activities. Let's see, what else? Rima wants an example, but I don't know about what. Let's see. Does it have to be a CSV file in order to download a client list? Kelly, yeah, we do CSV imports and exports, but I don't know what else you mean. I hope that answers your question. How do you group the activities? Yeah, grouping activities would be like if, and Jackie already mentioned this, if you had a if you have a specific category of items based on like an HOA, which is what Cathy talked about. So if you have certain HOA activities that are required in your municipality, you could group all those by calling them all HOA, and that would assign them to the HOA group.
And you can see that on some of our activities too, where like actually in this one, yeah, kind of show her that those are all my groups that I created. So as you create those groups, it'll populate in your drop down for you, and then you can just select where you want them to go.
The way I look at these in my ding dong brain is that I look at it and go, okay, I got this, we wrote an offer on a house and here's what we said. And so if I'm the transaction coordinator, I look at it and go, okay, so they want radon. They're going to do a radon test and an inspection, and this is for a condo, so we're going to need HOA docs on it. So then I would sit down at this and I'm like, okay, what do I need in this? Okay, so I'm going to look at it and go, okay, so I got to check the word radon because those parts I need. We're doing an inspection, and because it is a condo, I've got HOA to deal with. It doesn't have anything to do with septic. It has nothing to do with referring agents. And yeah, they're getting a loan on it. So yeah, I see that they're doing a conventional loan on it with 20% down. No, we didn't do a home warranty. So none of this other stuff applies. So that's what it means. It means you're going to check these boxes because this stuff applies to what the contract is written. You don't have to get lost in the words, well, what's a group? What's a category? What's a what? Because again, those are details that my brain doesn't even hold on to. So for the rest of you that are going out for coffee with me, that's what it means.
So Bill wants to know, because we've been talking a lot about transaction workflows, touch on marketing workflows, funnel workflows, consistent touches, and how BombBomb Video can integrate. So really quickly, for those of you curious, you'll notice at the very top of this workflow editor, so we're editing this one workflow, and this workflow is called RESCU, the Listing TC Accepted Offer Contract to Close workflow. It is categorized as a transaction workflow. Any kind of a marketing workflow is typically going to be a contact workflow. This is a workflow outside of a property, outside of a transaction, where you want to stay in touch with a person. So you would build a contact workflow, and then you would build it off of time delays and specific dates, and you could say off of previous things getting done, but you wouldn't do it off of transaction dates and checklists like you would inside of a transaction or a property or listing workflow. So it's really simple, actually. They're even more simple to create than the transaction workflows because they're not reliant on so many other things. So you would simply start a contact workflow. You can, how I would recommend doing it is write your templates first. I would write out a plan that says, I want to stay in touch with this person for 2 years and just kind of create how often I want emails to happen. Just draft out the email template, and then you start building those templates and build the workflows off of that. So I have lots of ideas how that works. I'm not going to get into it too much here. And then BombBomb is easy. I guess I could do this real quick here. If you go to, I'm in a template now. I'm editing a template from the template section. I can just add a BombBomb video here, but I need to be in my account probably here. Let me see if I can do it in Marks. There's a couple of ways I can do it. I can shoot a BombBomb video to a specific person here. And what will happen is it loads my video recorder. Or I can choose a video from my BombBomb library, and it inserts it right here into the email that I'm about to send. So that's a one-off for anybody involved in this transaction. The cool thing here is you'll notice, so if I'm on a transaction, let's go to a different one real quick, and I have a party of people associated with the transaction. I click on the bomb. Now I can add party members. So let's say I recorded a video, or I'm choosing a video to throw in there. Let's just throw this video in there. So now it puts my BombBomb video in there. Now I can choose party members that are already associated. So I don't have to look people up. I can say, wait, who was the buyer's agent on this one? And I can click it, and it shows me who the buyer's agent is. I can select them and throw them in there. Or I can just start typing people's information. So now my BombBomb email shows up here.
Part of what we're doing now is we're doing a series of BombBomb videos that are going to incorporate some of our, or replace some of our emails actually that are generic. So when you go out to a listing and you take the listing and you get back to the office and you want to, tell them thank you, for entrusting us, and instead of sending an email about that, it's a BombBomb video that says, the same thing. It just says, hey, we just want to thank you for signing with our team. We're super excited about this. We're getting ready to get the open house scheduled, and I just want to remind you that you're going to get that extra key for me, and watch for the folks coming out to spray the lines and get the sign installed within the next 3 to 5 business days. We know you're working hard on the staging and that of your home. Photography will be out within the next week. we'll talk to you soon. So that kind of thing goes out right away. And then there's other things. So when, where we're at, we do a lot of well and septic stuff. So we have just some generic things about what you can expect with a well and septic inspection, and just different touches to let them know that you're not just an email, you're not just a text, but we still communicate with them, sometimes belly to belly, sometimes it's a phone, but a video is just a nice refresher too. And they're generic. So you can still, when you buy these packages, they're generic. They don't say, hey, Jackie with Keller Williams or anything like that, so you can do your own, whichever, but they're super easy to do.
So Kenny says, can you add an attachment? Yes, Kenny, you can add attachments on the fly, or you can add it into the template itself, so that every time this email gets sent out, there's this attachment that goes out with it. So you can attach it once, and then it goes out with every single email on that activity. This workflow shows 0 days after acceptance. So you don't want to start this activity after it's actually received. Yeah, that's correct. So how Cathy and Jackie like to do it is they have multiple workflows on each listing. So you have a pre-list workflow that turns into the active listing workflow, and there's like listing maintenance activities there. There are marketing activities that are there. And then once you received an offer, that would turn into a transaction workflow. So you would start that workflow after you accepted the offer. So yeah, that's how that would work. And that's the cool thing about Realvolve, is you kind of keep things separate. You go from one thing to the next. That way, when Jackie logs in, she doesn't have to see every single step that ever would have to happen with a listing or a transaction. It's only the things that are happening now. So it's only the past due activities or the due today activities. That's the default in Realvolve.
Yeah.
Let's see. So there's a couple other, let's see. Man, there are so many questions. We're not going to be able to get to these questions, but I really appreciate it. How does the dot loop integration work? I don't have time to get into that now, but basically you can synchronize transactions and listings so that it sends all of the information over to dot loop. If you have more questions about that, you can look up articles on our website or reach out to the support team and they can help you with that. What if you have branded BombBomb videos? Can you import them? Your videos are available to you after you hook up BombBomb. Any email template or any email before you send it has the bomb icon like you can see right here, and you can simply add those pre-recorded videos there. Let's see. As we're in Europe, is there a plan to integrate? No, we don't have anything right now for European currency conversions. Sorry about that.
There's one in here, Dale, that they're asking if we do use Realvolve for buyers, and the answer is yes. And that's our next series of webinars coming up with Dale and the crew. So we're going to have a couple of buyer workflows. We haven't picked our dates yet, but there'll be a couple different webinars on buyers and buyer transaction to close, which are pretty awesome too. So watch for those. You'll get emails on that.
And I think what we're going to have to do I'm going to have to write an article and shoot another video on this, because Cathy, you did so much work on this. All your notes here, I'm going to turn that into a couple of articles and we'll make sure that everybody that registered for the webinar here sees that, because we have so many other activities that we didn't get to that I wanted everybody to be aware of. So I'm going to turn this into like a little email or an article and send that out in the next couple of days. Just so everybody knows. How many workflows have Jackie and Cathy built?
How many are there? There's about 20.
Well, these, and then there's
15. There's some that are still kind of in development right now, so they're a little more of a work in progress. But we're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're finding that we're using them for a lot more than just transaction to close.
So there's probably about 35, and we're doing things like agent onboarding, we're doing things like events, pop by, so we're doing things like movie day, tailgate parties, Like I said, the agent onboarding, 30, 60, 90-day review periods, and it just gets really different. And that's one of the things Dale was saying, that they've really never had anybody doing those kinds of things. And so we're exploring uncharted territories as far as team leader stuff and HR kind of things. And it's turning out to be pretty awesome.
And standard operating procedures, quite honestly.
Yep.
It's a lot of our procedures are built into Realvolve workflows.
And it's simplifying our world, man.
Yeah.
So I just want to address something too. Graciela said that the time I'm supposed to save with the CRM, I have to expend doing workflows. And she's stuck on something. So first of all, I would say, if you get stuck, just reach out to us. We want to help you.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be stuck or frustrated on anything. The second thing I'll say is one of my favorite quotes from Stephen R. Covey, who said, "Have you ever been too busy driving to stop for gas?" Don't you hate it when you're so busy driving that you don't have time to stop for gas? There is no magic bullet. There is no simple solution. There is no quick fix. There's no get rich quick scheme. That's all a myth. It's a lie. So everybody wants you to believe that everything should be easy, but the best things in life are not easy. They're worth it, but they're not necessarily easy. And I've been around the real estate industry for about 15 years now, whether directly or indirectly. And I can tell you there's nothing else like Realvolve out there. There's no other option for automating as much as we can help you automate. Now, if you don't want to automate things, that's totally fine. And like Jackie said earlier, it's a great CRM just by itself without the workflows. But if you really want to automate things in the future, it does take a little bit of investment up front, but you don't have to do it all at once. Just figure out where you want to save time quickly in the short term and get that done first, and then use it, and then do the next step later, next month, next week, whatever it is. You don't have to just stop everything and do it all at once. That's a myth. Just do it little by little and rely on the community. Go to our Facebook page. We have a community there. We're not afraid of complaints. We're not afraid of criticism. We're not afraid to help. So if you have something positive to say, great. If you have something you need help with, put it in there and we'll help you with it.
There's a lot of heavy,
that's our Realvolve Facebook community.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy users on that community that are helping people ask the questions. We're on it. We're not that we're that bright, but we use it quite a bit. And so we were on there and we're asking questions, and there are people in there that are asking questions, and other people that we know that are out there answering. Dale's on there answering. There's a lot of people on Mark Stepp is out there answering questions. So, I mean, there's lots of people that are out there to help you. So don't feel like you're not going to get answers. You will.
So I'm going to breeze through a couple of more questions here. Mm-hmm. Can you explain how Google Sync activity works? Yes, so this activity syncs with Google. If you have that box checked, it'll sync with your Google Calendar and your Google Tasks if you've synced your Google account with Realvolve. Let's see, how many workflows? We answered that one.
Somebody asked,
workflows?
Oh, go ahead.
Do workflows trigger the next workflow, or do you manually start the next workflow? Either. You can choose to do both. You can have a workflow activity trigger another workflow, or you can manually start them.
Somebody asked if this is agent only based or if this can be brokerage, and it can be either. We've actually been talking to some big offices to bring this in for their offices and all their staff and or agents and teams in there. So absolutely, it can be used for anybody.
Yeah, there's no limit to how many steps you can put or how many email templates you can use. Can you go through the steps from the listing to close? There's 49 of them. We can probably send out a list, but I'll just kind of scroll right now. I'm not going to read all 49 of them. If you're looking at my screen, I'm just going to kind of scroll through all 49 of these so that you can see them. Is Jackie giving?
Yep, go ahead.
Is Jackie giving or selling workflows? I'm glad you asked, because Jackie does both. This particular set of workflows is for sale. Do we have a price for this?
Yeah, we wanted to, for this one, we wanted to let people know that it will be posted up in the library with Dale. Those guys are going to be posting it up there. And we wanted to let you know that if you guys made it to the end here, which we appreciated, everybody actually did, that we'd like to give you 30% off on this. If, Dale, can we timeline that, like say 48 hours?
Sure.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. And then, so if you guys want to, it's a, which workflow is this now? Is this the listing
It's the
transaction
listing.
to close?
Yep.
Well, how much was that? $350. So it's $350 and y'all can get it 30% off.
And it's technically, it's 3 workflows built in. So it's not just the one workflow, you're actually getting 3. So it's, I believe, technically about 69 total activities and 50 templates. So with those 3 workflows.
Cool.
Yep.
So
And then there's, I think there's right now, there's one other one up, which was our pot buy plans.
right.
In our listing.
And our, and the listing workflow.
Yeah, those are up.
Yeah, so those are in the library, and we'll get this one added probably today. If you're interested in learning more or you want to purchase this workflow, you can just email sales@realvolve.com, and we'll either install them for you or we can answer any questions that you have about this. We'll get you the list of all of the activities that are included as well. So just shoot an email to sales@realvolve.com. If you have any questions, and we'll forward you over to Jackie or Cathy if you have any specific questions about each activity, each individual activity. Let's see. So
Linda's wondering about what the listing magic workflow was. Mm-hmm. So that is 6 workflows, roughly 88 activities and 43 templates. That one's all dealing with the listing. So pre-listing, withhold, some people call it a pocket listing, the actual listing the property and going live, open houses, price reductions, cancellations, expireds, and then relist, depending on if that's the route you go. And that is a $400 bundle of all those 6 workflows. And that one is, I believe, that one's up, Dale, up on the library?
Yeah, that one's in there.
Okay. And if you call in to Realvolve, they've got an amazing staff that will talk to you and tell you about, you can ask questions on that and they'll tell you all about what's in there and how they, you know, what's all in them. You can ask them questions. They'll dig into it with you.
Cool. So anybody has any other questions that we didn't get to? I mean, there's tons in here that we couldn't get to, but anybody think of anything else that we might, is there a way to print workflows? Kind of. We're working on that, actually. There's a lot of people that want that, kind of that ability. So
Randy wants a watch. It's funny, Randy.
So yeah, there is so much flexibility in the system, and that sometimes gets people hung up. Really, the thing to remember is start with what your most urgent problem is. Don't start with what you think Realvolve can do, because Realvolve can help you almost automate anything in your business, whether it's online or offline. So if you want to start somewhere, just think about what's the thing that I do over and over and over again that I wish I could automate a little bit, and we can help you with that. So reach out to us for help, join that Facebook community, and of course, shoot us an email at sales@realvolve.com if you want more information about Jackie's workflows, and $245, so $105 off. Normally $350 for these 3 workflows on the transaction to close. It's these 3 workflows here. Canceled. So this one is sold and closed, accepted, contract to close, and this one's canceled offer on a listing. So let us know what you would like to see us do next time. on our next webinar, because we're going to continue with Cathy and Jackie. They have a really deep knowledge of how the system works. They've built some really cool workflows. We're just going to continue showing you more about different workflows, but I need feedback from you guys on what kinds of information to cover as it relates to how Cathy and Jackie use Realvolve. So let us know. It would really help to tweak them. I got it. I got you, Harry. Yeah, we're definitely working on something like that, Harry. So there's more to come. Let's see. Any other questions before we go? Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up. Let's see.
That's great questions, you guys. Lots of them.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff there, Mark. You have the same comment as Harry. That's what we're working on right now. So you're going to be excited to see what we're working on. How do you rename the original workflow?
Right there in the title.
Yeah, you can just change the title. What I would do is copy the workflow and then change the name so that you can have the original still. That's what I do. And Ginny, there is step-by-step instructions. If you go to where, I think John posted it there in the chat. It's our training videos. I'm going to click on it here so you can see. This is a step-by-step 5-video series with related information for anybody that wants to get deep into step-by-step how to build workflows. There's basically like a 30-day training. It's all broken out, and there's videos that also walk you through step-by-step. So whether you're visual, audio, or you want to read, it's all there. Let's see. You can copy workflows, Bill. Cool. Hey, thanks, Mark, for the compliment. Really appreciate that. Mark says, this system crushes the combination from a competitor. I'm not going to name any names, but appreciate that, Mark. Really kind of you to say that.
That's awesome.
Cool. If there's no more questions, we're 8 minutes over time. Sorry to go so long, but we really appreciate everybody hanging around. And thank you to Jackie and Cathy for all of the knowledge that you're sharing with us. And Cathy, I'm gonna turn all your stuff into a blog article, I think, because it's so good. All your notes that you sent over to me. Thanks, everybody. Shoot us an email, sales@realvolve.com, if you want more information about how to get some of Jackie and Cathy's workflows from the library. We'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.
Yep, see ya.
Bye-bye.